Hello and welcome to a major announcement on behalf of Main Event Television and No Limit Boxing Promotions, where we are going to tell you about the first pay-per-view event of the year that's going to take place in Sydney. And I can tell you it is a fight that absolutely nobody saw coming. Ben Damon's my name, joined by Peter Bedell from the Courier Mail and from No Limit, George Rose, who is going to tell us exactly who, what, where and when. And we do know it is an Aussie on the rise against a star from the United States. George, take it away.
Yeah, look, I'm very excited to be here today to announce that on March 12th, live from the iconic Hordern Pavilion here in Sydney, Keith, one-time Thurman, former unified world champion, one of the greatest boxers that we've seen in the last 10, 15 years, will be taking on our very own Brock Jarvis here in Sydney. And it's going to open our pay-per-view shows for the year. It's going to open up a huge year, a blockbuster card as well to join that. And, man, we're absolutely pumped to be getting Keith Thurman out here and to have our very own Brock Jarvis taking him on here in our backyard.
And it's one we've been able to keep pretty quiet. It's just come out today. What were people guessing? What did people think was going to come out here today? Because I don't think anyone thought it was going to be Keith Thurman and Brock Jarvis.
Well, you look at the calibre of Keith Thurman. Like, you look at his... People talk about boxing resumes. His last 5 fights, you're talking Sean Porter, you're talking Denny Garcia, Manny Pacquiao. He's even beat a current world champion in Mario Barrios. His resume is unbelievable. You don't expect to get a guy like Keith Thurman out here to Australia, but we've managed to be able to do that, and we're super excited for it. The fact that we've got our very own Brock Jarvis here to take him on. Brock, in his return to boxing, you know, it was one of the most hyped returns to boxing, because when Brock said that he was coming back at a heavier weight, every man and their dog wanted a piece of him. They were flocking to him like seagulls to hot chips. He was the man that everybody wanted. Brock Jarvis is a name in Australian boxing that people want to be in the ring with, because they know that Brock brings the crowds. When he walks into a room, he turns people's heads. He's got a great team behind him. The great Jeff Fenech, Hall of Famer, one of our greatest boxers, arguably our greatest boxer of all time. Jeff Fenech in his corner. It's a team. It's a dream team. It's a dream team. And the fact that they're going to be there taking on Keith Thurman here in Australia, it's a great way to open the year. How good. Boxing's back for 2025, and we've got a great fight to open it up with.
George, you've shocked me again. It's the No Limit Magic Act. But look, in terms of... Thurman was meant to fight Tim Tszyu last year, and of course he then tore his bicep. Is this a stepping stone to Tim Tszyu? I mean, where does Tim Tszyu lie in the picture here, in the narrative? And if Brock beats Thurman, which he could, can he fight Tim Tszyu? Where does Tim Tszyu fit into the picture here?
Look, Tim Tszyu, there'll be an announcement for Tim Tszyu coming very soon, actually, but we were really excited for this fight for Tim last year, and we really wanted to make that one happen. And Keith Thurman, obviously one of the biggest personalities in boxing. We saw that from the opening press conference that we had, and I'm expecting fireworks from him today. You know, he's a man that is gifted with the gab, and I think the way that this fight goes, I think it's a huge opportunity for Brock Jarvis. Brock Jarvis gets an opportunity. He said he wanted a big fight. You know, coming off the back of that fantastic performance that he had coming back to the ring, he wanted a big fight. We've managed to make Keith Thurman happen in Australia, and to bring Keith Thurman out here, it's huge for Australian boxing. It shows the calibre of the shows that we're able to put on here, and it's just the beginning. This is the first show of the year. This is just the start of it. So this could be a stepping stone for either of them. Whoever wins this fight, it opens up huge opportunities, because both of them are names. Brock Jarvis is a great name to have in boxing, and you get a win over Brock Jarvis, you're ready to go on to the next step. You get a win over Keith Thurman, you're ready to go on to great things. So, huge opportunity for both guys involved.
George, we know what this means to Keith Thurman. He's been out of the ring for a long time. Getting back against a young gun like this shows that he belongs back at the top of the business. But what about for Brock? Talking to the people that you do around the world, what does this represent to him, where he's at in his career? What does a win do for him in global boxing?
Well, look, we talked about last year when Tim was going to fight Keith Thurman, was that was a stepping stone for Tim to open into world boxing and take on all of the big opponents in world boxing. The same thing happens for Brock Jarvis. Brock Jarvis knocks off a former unified world champion, one of the great boxers of the last decade. If he knocks him off, it's a huge stepping stone for him, a huge opportunity for him to open doors to so many great fights that still exist out there in that weight division. It's a great weight division to be in and around because of the exciting fights that exist.
What do you think happens in the fight? You've been thinking about it now for a little while since you've been putting this all together, but what do you realistically think happens when Keith Thurman gets in with Brock Jarvis in Sydney?
Look, I haven't broke down what I think will actually happen in the fight, but for me, I was just excited to get this to happen. The fact that we've got Keith Thurman coming out here to Sydney, Australia, to fight Brock Jarvis on a huge pay-per-view card to open the year, I'm pumped about that. For me, it's about the energy that's going to be in that room when these two walk into the ring, and that's where you have to be. You need to be in the room at the Hordern Pavilion on March 12th to be there and feel it yourself to know how big this is going to be.
Well, George, I mean, we've seen some great international opponents over the years. Henry Roy Jones Jr. was out here. We've seen, of course, the great Manny Pacquiao, and they've lost fights here, the great international opponents. Could it happen again? I mean, but what are we going to see from Thurman? He's a great salesman, as was Tony Harrison in 2023. What do we think we'll see from Thurman?
Look, I'm expecting big energy from Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman knows that this is an opportunity for him as well. He's been on the sideline for a little while. He's getting back in the ring in a big fight, and he knows that this is an opportunity for him to keep moving forward. A win over Brock gets him more big fight opportunities. So for him, I'm expecting him to come out here. I know he'll love Australia. Who doesn't love Australia when they come out here? Sydney's the best city in the world, hands down. I know we didn't make #1 on that recent list, but I've got us as #1. So Sydney's a great city. I reckon he's going to love it when he comes out here. And you know, whether he enjoys the beaches and the scenery too much or whether he gets in here and he focuses and puts on a really big performance, we won't know till we're there. But the one thing that I do know is that you have to be there to see it live.
You're going to sub out in a minute. We're going to get Brock Jarvis in here. We're going to talk to Keith Thurman as well from over there in Florida. But tell us about the tickets. How do you get to the Hordern Pavilion if you can't just sit home and watch it on Main Event?
Now, look, the Hordern Pavilion, it's an iconic venue, one of the greatest venues for boxing. You cannot have a bad show at the Hordern Pavilion, so get there live. Tickets are live on tickettech.com.au from 2 p.m. today. Make sure you jump on and get it. If you're not registered on nolimitboxing.com.au, do that now because you don't want to miss out on these opportunities. That's where the tickets are at. You've got to be in the building to feel the energy of this fight. This fight is going to be a cracker. Make sure you're there. We've got a great undercard too coming, so tune in, tickettech.com.au from 2 p.m.
We're going to talk to some of those undercard fighters in just a minute as well, but very shortly we're going to be talking to Keith Thurman and Brock Jarvis.
Keith, what time Thurman? Keith Thurman is forever and ever one of the greatest fighters in the sport of boxing. Brock Jarvis!
So the stage is set. It's Keith Thurman and Brock Jarvis. We've got Brock Jarvis here with us now, who we'll talk to very, very shortly. And joining us live from Florida, it is the former unified champion of the world, Keith Thurman. Brock, I'll start with you. That man there in the screen, what does he represent to you? You've watched him for a long time. What does a victory mean against him in this fight?
Yeah, I certainly have watched him for a long time. Very, very excited, truly honoured to be here. And I plan on making a statement on March 12th. So I'm preparing hard and I'm really looking forward to this. This is a big opportunity for me and I want to make the most of it.
Is it a surprise to you that this was able to come together? When they said to you, we've got one for you and it's Keith Thurman, was that a shock?
Yeah, well, originally when I got the call, I thought Keith had retired. I didn't think he was boxing anymore. So it was news to me. But like I said, very excited, and I thought, what an opportunity for me.
We might bring in Keith Thurman from Florida now. Keith, thanks so much for joining us. We're really excited to get you to Australia. What do you know about Brock Jarvis? What was it like for you when they said that name to you and they said, come to Sydney, have a fight?
I knew about Tim Tszyu, obviously, with his father and what he was able to do, becoming champion, So I had to do a little Google research on who Brock Jarvis was. I saw his accolades at 147, how he lost in his world title shot. And, this is just what they brought to the table. I have been inactive for 3 years now. I've done great things in the sport of boxing. A lot of fights have not come off in the USA. Even the last fight, I suffered my third major injury, which was very unfortunate, but I still, at 36 years old, have a passion for the sport. I've been world champion twice. I love being world champion. I know I have fans from all over the world, and this gives me that opportunity to get back into the sport of boxing, which I love, travel overseas, and just allow those worldwide fans that I know that I have to see me face to face, to showcase my skills and my talent in Sydney, Australia. and just show you guys what a mistake it is when you think you're going to fight Keith Thurman and it's going to be an easy fight.
When you looked him up and found out who Brock Jarvis is, were you impressed or were you disappointed with what you saw?
I mean, you got to understand, he has not been world champion. You have to understand that Keith Thurman has not only been a champion, but I beat champions. And I schooled the last champion, Mario Barrios. So, you know, it's hard to impress me. But what I saw was a very lively fighter. I saw a guy who is gonna fight. This guy is an insider. He's gonna come, bring power punches to the table. I was notorious when I was coming up for being a power puncher. This allows me to go back to my roots. Of course, my feet are always under me. I have an intelligent ring IQ that I can always bring to the table. But like the promoter said, he knows that in that arena come March 12th, that there will be some firecrackers from the USA, from Australia, live in action, March 12th. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to what this young man and the prime of his career, 27 years old, and the fact that he's not Mexican, but he's got to have some cojones to step up to me.
It's a big step up according to Keith. Is that the way that you see it, or what version do you think you're getting of Keith Thurman?
Not necessarily. I mean, he stated there that he's a power puncher. I know he hasn't knocked anyone out for 10 years. He hasn't fought in 3 years. That's a long time at his age. So, you know, for him to say those kinds of things, I know he had a scheduled fight last year, pulled out 2 weeks prior with an old man injury, a torn bicep. So I'm a bit worried, actually, that he might not even show up. I think I'll feel a lot better when he gets here and arrives on Australian soil.
Any response to that, Keith? Brock's concerned that your body at the age of 36 doesn't get you to Sydney.
You know, everyone is so quick to doubt. Nobody in the world today knows what it is to have faith. People don't understand what true passion is. This is not about Brock. You guys love him. I'm coming to your city. But when Keith Thurman steps in the ring, it's always the Thurman show. And when I get there, you're gonna know it's not about Brock. This is going to be one of the greatest comebacks in 2025. This is history in the making. This is Sugar Ray Leonard. This is Muhammad Ali after prison. Time does not take away the ability of champion.
Show's over.
I was a 7-time national champion.
Show's over, Keith. It's over. It's over now. It's finished.
The show has just begun, my friend, and you're the first opening act. And you're going to get a big welcoming slap. I promise you,
You're
kid.
looking for tune-up fights.
I promise you.
You're doing that.
You got dropped. You got dropped 2 fights ago. You got stopped. You got knocked out, kid. I've never been knocked out in a fight against any of the world champions. The greatest amongst the greats.
The time is up. You had your time. You had your one time.
You will not handle 5 rounds. Guaranteed.
It's over.
You're just a child to me, son.
You had your one time.
You're an amateur.
You're an old man.
You're an amateur.
You're well and truly past it. It's all over.
And just like your daddy, I'm going to give you a good whooping. Just like your I'm going to give you that whooping. How do you say it? Whooping.
Just show up on Australian soil, Keith. I'll feel much better when you get here. You know, I won't worry anymore about you pulling out like you have in the past.
That was one fight. I've pulled out of 2 fights due to 2 injuries. One was a whiplash against Sean Porter, which I gave him the fight and I won. I should have just beat Tim Tszyu one-handed. Y'all saw what happened. It's a big mistake. You mess with the big fish, USA. We run boxing. You don't run boxing. We run boxing. I've been about this life, son. I've been about this life. You already got slapped the first time you try to meet a champion, and you're about to get slapped one more time. Don't worry, kid. I'll be happy to give you the whooping your daddy never did.
Keith, you mentioned Tim Tszyu there. That was a fight you were meant to have previously. Is there a part of you that sees this as a stepping stone towards another opportunity to fight against Tim Tszyu? Is Brock Jarvis your path to there?
You guys want it. The promoters from that side of town are all capable of making this happen. This is what it is.
It's not going to happen, Keith.
I'm going to get back in action.
Here, Keith,
I'm going to warm up. I'm going to warm up my skills and talent. Remind people of who Keith Thurman is by beating up some kangaroos. All you want me to do is beat up some kangaroos. I'm going to fly over there. I'm going to get me this kangaroo. I'm going to come back to America, and I'll come get Zoo if that's what you guys want. This is the entertainment you guys want. You've had it in the past. You've had Roy Jones. You've had Pacquiao. You've had some world-class international fighters come to your land, come to your soil. Luckily for you, I'm what's next.
Is that how you feel, Brock, that Keith believes that this is just a stepping stone on the way to that fight?
I think every time he opens his mouth, he should be arrested for air pollution.
What have you done, Brock? Ask him a real question, man. What have you done, Brock, in boxing? What have you done?
That's what I'm about to do. I'm about to beat up on an old man who's well and truly past it.
That's fun. Well, good luck to you, son. Good luck to you.
You're declining fast, similar to the airline.
Any final words before we let the pair of you go? Keith, to you first. Some final words to Brock Jarvis before we see you ahead of this fight on March the 12th.
I'm just happy to be back in action for the world to see, for the doubters to doubt, for the haters to hate. But Keith Thurman was, is, and will forever be great. And that's what March 12th is all about.
And to you, Brock, after hearing that from Keith Thurman and having this interaction as you have done, some final words to the man that you'll face in the ring at the Hordern on March 12th.
Just make sure you get there, Keith. Just make sure you show up. All right, just keep yourself fresh. I don't want us to hear about any old man injuries like you have in the past.
Don't miss the plane flight. I'm going to be there, boy. Don't worry about it. We're going to have fun. I haven't traveled since COVID, kid. I love international travel. I met my wife in Tokyo, got married in Kathmandu. Now I get to fly to Australia and slap you. So it's going to be a good time.
All right, thank you so much for joining us, Keith. We look forward to the build-up to this one and to Brock Jarvis as well. Thanks for coming along today. Congratulations on such a big opportunity. We can't wait for this fight.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you to No Limit. Truly honoured to be here.
All right, now it's time for us to have a look at this undercard, because in the co-main event, it's a very, very familiar face, a familiar name in Australian boxing as well, who's going to join us now live from Melbourne. Michael Zerafa, we're pleased to announce that you will be taking your place on this card at the Hordern Pavilion against the German Bessier A 19-1 professional boxer from Germany. Firstly, your thoughts on what you've just seen there between Jarvis and Thurman?
Look, it was very entertaining. I'm actually looking forward to it. It's credit to both boys, but more of a credit to Brock for stepping up and fighting a guy in Keith Thurman. I think it's going to be a great fight. The young versus the old. This is going to be an interesting fight, and I'm looking forward to it and excited to be a part of the card.
Mick, it's Pete Bedell from the Courier Mail. Hope you're well. I know that there's been a lot of talk about you fighting Tim Tszyu for a long time. It's the fight we all want to see in Australian boxing, but of course you now have to get past this opponent first. But are you scared of Tim Tszyu, or is it the other way around?
Look, the talk was that I ran, which was never the case. Politics and COVID got in the way of our first fight, but now people are starting to realise that I'm a huge risk to his career. He's tried to avoid me on numerous occasions. When we stand face to face, he's got nothing to say, but he comes out every day saying, he'll take me in a street fight. I'm more than happy to stand in front of him and go toe to toe if he wants to do it outside the ring. I think he's got better of a chance in the ring. But like I said, people are starting to see that he's afraid. He doesn't want a third straight loss. His team have said, they want a warm-up fight first, which is fine. He got beat down twice pretty badly. So I understand why he doesn't want to face me. But like I said, I don't care about Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu's got his head straight in his ass, and I could not care too much about him. I've got a tough German in front of me. I've got a lot on the line, and going out there to make a statement.
Do you think Tim is vulnerable now, Mick? I mean, he had that pretty brutal beatdown against Backroom Murders Alive in Orlando just a few months ago. Do you think he is vulnerable, and would you love to end his career one day?
100%. I've always said it. I've always said I was going to be the man to end him. But like I said, he is running away from me. And he uses petty excuses, saying that I'm money hungry and whatnot, which is definitely not the case. I'm not the one that's coming down to the different states doing, meet and greets for $300 a ticket. So for me, like I said, I've got better things to worry about. Tim Tszyu, he will get it once. If it's not me, it will be someone else. He has been exposed quite too many times now, and I've been calling it since day one. But like I said, for me, I don't really care about Tim Tszyu. Like I said, I brush him off now. I've got bigger things in front of me. He doesn't need me, I don't need him. We're not in each other's way, but it's a fight that needs to be made. But like I said, I've got a task in front of me, and I'm just focused fully on that.
Michael, last time we saw you in New South Wales, there was all sorts of drama in the ring. Are you even allowed back here? And what sort of reception are you expecting from the crowd at the Hordern?
Yeah, look, last fight, it should have happened. My brother just did what a brother would do, but, I don't condone what he did. It was, it was terrible to see on TV, especially on such a big platform. But it is what it is. Hopefully we've put it behind ourselves and we move forward. We're on to bigger and better things now. And look, it was something that definitely shouldn't have taken place, and it did. These things do happen in the sport, but as long as no one got obviously injured and hurt, that's the main thing. And like I said, it definitely won't happen again. We're allowed to be back there, and we're coming back to put on a great show for the fight fans and tell everyone to get around, because it's going to be a great card.
What sort of response, though, are you expecting from the crowd there at the Hordern when you walk out into another Sydney crowd?
Yeah, look, I expect it to be pretty hostile and definitely in the Germans' favour, but I'm used to it now. I just go out there and do what I got to do and get the job done. Win, lose or draw, I give it my absolute best. But like I said, the crowd doesn't define anything. I go out there and give my absolute all, and whether they love or they hate me, they'll watch me.
And tell us about your opponent in this fight, the German Bessier A. What have you learnt about him since this fight was put together?
Yeah, look, my name to him is a huge opportunity. Him beating me is massive. He'll enter the top 15 and things will open up for him. He's tough, he's hungry. We're the same age, but like I said, he's got nothing to lose, everything to gain. I've got nothing really to gain, everything to lose. So for me, this is a risky fight, but I want to test myself. He's only lost once, and that was early in his career. So he, hasn't tasted defeat in quite some time. So his confidence will be through the roof. But that's where I'm here. That's why I'm here to shut him down and put on that show. And like I said, I've been promised titles on the line. So whatever titles get put on the line, I'll definitely bring them home and keep climbing the ranks.
Mick, where do you feel you're at in your career now? Like, you're 32, you've fought 3 rounds in 2 years, you had a pretty bad loss to Erislandy Lara in Vegas last year, of course, which would have been psychologically pretty damaging. Like, where are you at in your career and can you get better?
100%. I feel like the best is yet to come. I actually had a conversation with a legend in the sport this morning, and he says when Zerafa's on, Zerafa's dangerous. And early Zerafa found it very hard to find that mental switch on. But as I've gotten older, I'm learning now how to adapt and flick that switch. And it's unfortunate that obviously I fought Lara, and we're talking about Erislandy Lara here. The guy that arguably beat Canelo Alvarez. He beat me mentally and physically. I wasn't there. No excuses. He beat me fair and square, and I just mentally wasn't on that day. And I was sad that obviously Tommy Brown got injured because he came to fight too, and I wanted to put it out there and get the rounds in the bank. But unfortunately, he withdrew with an injury. But for me, like I said, I'm growing every day in the gym. Honestly, I know every fighter says mentally and physically they're in the best shape, but I'm not overtraining. I'm recovering so smart now. I'm eating better. I'm just in a happier place. I've set up my own gym now, so I'm not amongst all the politics. I'm just, closed doors, closed garage, and just working away now. And for me, I think that's the most dangerous Zerafa you're going to get. And come fight time, you'll see.
All right, we're looking forward to seeing that, Michael, but we might finish because we know a lot about what you're doing at the moment. It is about the Tszyu brothers. Do you have a message for Tim and for Nikita? I'm sure that they're tuning in and interested in what you have to say, but just finish us off with something to the boys.
100%. Tim, grow a pair. You're running. It's quite clear you're running from me. You don't want the fight. You don't want a third loss. If you're more than happy to fight in the street, mate, I'll come to Sydney and we can meet in the car park and we can settle it there once and for all. But if not, like I said, grow a pair and let's make it happen. Let's give the fight fans what they want and let me take that third loss straight for you.
All right, thank you so much, Michael Zerafa. We can't wait to have you back here in Sydney. We look forward to seeing you back in action on March 12th.
Thanks, brother.
And now we go further into what is a stacked undercard because Mateo Tapia, we saw him in a Fight of the Year candidate in Orlando against Andrei Saavedra late last year, a draw on that occasion. And as we now catch up with him in Florida, you're looking a lot better than you were straight after that fight. A brutal battle. How do you look back on what was one of those fights that people will remember for years and years, Mateo?
Yeah, it was one of those fights where you find out a lot about yourself, and I learnt a lot about myself that night. If you can't break me on a night like that, then you're going to have a very hard time breaking me when I'm feeling good. So, yeah.
All right, we're waiting to find out who your opponent will be for this fight, but what version of you are we going to get? Is this an improved version after going through all that adversity in Orlando, and how much improved?
Yeah, look, I'm deep into camp already. I'm already sparring. I'm feeling fit. Been here for 4 weeks already, so I just can't wait to just showcase my skills again and just showcase a bit of heart and grit like you guys already saw.
Mateo, it was an amazing fight against Saavedra that night in Orlando. But you were dropped 3 times in that fight. Some people thought you lost it. You did well to escape with a draw. What do you feel you learnt about yourself?
Yeah, look, I watched that fight being non-biased and actually scored a draw myself. I'm not going to say I got robbed. I'm not going to say I won. But I didn't lose that night. And there was 2 knockdowns in there that, there was one knockdown I took a knee. I had a cut to my eye. That felt weird. That was an inexperience itself. And then the knockdown in the 9th was sort of a push. So take all those things out, and I probably could have snuck away with it. But that's boxing, and you just have to keep going, keep moving forward, and whatever's next is whatever happens.
Well, you come into 2025 still undefeated, and we wait to find out who you will be fighting on March the 12th. But tell us what you see in store for the course of this year, because we know all those names in and around your weight division. We know where you're at in global boxing. As you look ahead, what's coming up?
Yeah, look, I'm excited for this year. It's going to be a stacked year. I'm planning to have 3 fights, hopefully a world title chance by the end of the year. But that's something that will happen. I just have to keep working hard and keep my head down, keep focused, keep training, and good things will come.
What about Mateo? There's a few good middleweights now in Australia. Obviously, Brock Jarvis has campaigned there. Would you like to have a fight with Brock down the track, or perhaps even Michael Zerafa?
Let's see how he does with Keith Thurman first. He's sitting with him here. He's pretty motivated. So yeah, you can't count out Keith Thurman. But I'm rooting for Brock because it's a life-changing opportunity too.
Well, you've been around fighters for a long, long time, and you're around Keith Thurman right now. As you look ahead to this fight that I'm sure you, like the rest of us, could not have possibly predicted would come about, what are you seeing with the energy of Keith Thurman alongside you there?
Yeah. Yeah, look, he's excited. He's bringing his A game, that's for sure. Brock better be ready, and I know Brock will be ready. Yeah, it's pretty cool seeing him behind the cameras, and I couldn't hear you guys, but I could hear Keith Thurman talking, so it looked pretty intense. Or seemed pretty intense.
Yeah, it's always intense with Keith around, that's for sure. Thanks so much, Mateo. Can't wait to see you back home here in Sydney ahead of this fight on March the 12th. Yeah, very exciting news. So to repeat it all, we do have Keith Thurman coming to town to fight against Brock Jarvis. In a couple of words, how excited are you?
Look, it's going to be a super fight. I really think it's the young bull against the old established pro. But I think maybe Keith Thurman's time has come. He's age 36, Ben, and I think Brock Jarvis has the size, he's got the strength, and he's got the inside game to really test him. I think Brock can pull off a boil over. What
a fight it's going to be, and what a win it would be for Brock Jarvis. So to repeat all the details, March the 12th at Sydney's historic Hordern Pavilion, you're going to see former unified champion of the world Keith Thurman against rising Australian star Brock Jarvis. You can see it all, of course, on Main Event Television. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Ben Damon. I'll see you at the fights.